Alright, so I'm going to travel back in time a little bit through the magic of video splicing. I've already completed the fuel injector replacement, but while it's all assembled here, what I would do if I knew what I was doing at the beginning, and since now I know what I did, I'll go back and just give you a quick rundown. So this will be the beginning of the video as I finish my oil change here and I get ready to return this one to service. So anyway, code 320 maybe, it was a cylinder number 6 misfire. This is a quick review. Also had bank to lean, so it was pointing me in the direction, which I believe I've talked about this on the following video. So fuel injectors, set of fuel injectors, I think $77 delivered through eBay. Piece of cake. First thing, pull a negative battery cable, always a good idea. Air cleaner comes off by pushing these two little notches over. That connector comes off, that connector, this hose pulls out. Loosen the screw here, they say take off that, which I did. This cover, it's got a couple screws on it. I don't really think you need to take that off, however. You work your way, get this pulled out of here, picks up, comes out, set this off to the side. Over on the right side engine compartment, which is actually the left side of the truck, but everything for working inside the engine compartment is going to be right is right, left is left, front, rear. This big nut on the EGT, sorry, aviation reference, EGR valve comes off. There's also a strut somewhere in there. Here's my strut. Anyway, it's hard to see, but back in here is a strut. There's a bolt that comes out of here. Takes that loose. I also loosened up this nut down here to allow it to flop around a little bit. On this side, there's a hose. Connects up under here, which goes back over here. Pretty much it on this side. As you pull this thing off, the PCV valve is back there stuck in a grommet into the valve cover. It's going to pop out by itself. There's also a little elbow hose in the back corner, which you'll see when you pull this up. It comes off. These two hoses, push those off. This connector comes off. That connector right there. This connector right there. These two are coolant lines, so you want to pop your radiator cap. And hopefully you'll be doing this when it's cool, not hot. You don't want to spew coolant all over the place, but that will leave the pressure. These come over here and stick them off to the side. The connector on the coil packs, best to pull that off of there. There's two nuts on top of the coil mounting bracket. There's also another bracket over here, like that, which is loose on mine for some reason. It mounts to an exhaust stud in the back. In my case, it was broken off, so it really didn't matter. So you either take that off of there if it's still mounted, or this just comes off to the side. There's a bolt here that has a little stud sticking out of the top of it, which this hose will push down on top of. So you want to make sure that studded one comes up here. And you put it back. There's two bolts in the middle, two long stud bolts there, another bolt in the back. Once you get that off of there, you just whack this thing and it'll pop loose. This will be out of the way, of course. And I took the intake and just pushed it off the side, which you will see in the rest of these videos, and tied it off with a bungee cord. That gives you opportunity to change these hoses if you need to. They'll be at the bottom of this. They come up in here. It's also the PVC line if you want to change that hose. Change any hoses that are any kind of questionable at that point when you get access to them. Hopefully you'll only be doing this one time. That'll be out of the way. Here's the fuel line connection, which you need the special little Ford tool, which I show you. It goes up underneath here and pushes up on a little spring. This pops up out of there. Pull that out. Fuel pressure regulator's right there. There's a little vacuum hose on that. We just pop that back off. Once that's out of the way, these connectors are pretty easy to get to. These are the fuel injector connectors. You just squeeze them and pop them off. The fuel rail will be right in front of you. There's 4 bolts, 2 bolts on either side of the fuel rails, which you'll see down there on 5/16, I believe, pop those 4 bolts, this thing just kind of flops around. The fuel injectors are just mounted top and bottom with O-rings, so they just kind of pop in. No, it's not coronavirus. It is, however, March 26th, deep in the beginning, I would say, of the coronavirus pandemic. Nut job, kill the economy, panic. Anyway, enough of the political crap. So anyway, there's a big fuel line at the bottom of this thing that goes across the bottom. As your fuel oil will be sitting here, you want to pull this part back a little bit up under the ear of the intake, and then you'll push it back that way a little bit, the whole thing will pop off. Either all fuel injectors will be stuck in the fuel rail, or they'll fall off, stay in the ports in the head. You'll have the whole thing out. You can take it off, clean it off, pop your new fuel injectors in, as you'll see. I believe I show. Slap them all back down. There's an intake gasket runs right down the center. This is where the intake mounts. Only one little part. This is just all manifold hanging over the side here. The only connection is this little part right here. So got you a piece of cardboard or something to stick across the top of the intake manifold, blocking the ports there, so you can get some brake cleaner and air pressure if you got it, and clean this whole area off without getting anything down inside there. And the best way to do that is to take the fuel injectors, if they aren't stuck in there, stick them back in their holes as you clean everything, so you don't blow crap up inside there into the holes. Once you do that, intake gasket goes back in the middle. Let's drop the, yeah, not quite. Fuel injectors go back in. The rest of the procedure I think I've got following this video, following this segment at least, and then you just drop it all back on there. It's rather simple. I would think you do this whole thing in an hour without really rushing. I always stretch it out a little bit and clean up a lot of stuff while I'm at it. The other thing I use is WD-40. If you're not familiar with WD-40, back in 1972 I was introduced to WD-40, which stands for Water Displacement Attempt Number 40, I believe. I just refer to it as Water Displacement Formula Number 40. It's great for spraying anything down that's aluminum, keep it from corroding. You will see all the aluminum parts will be white and like crusty from corrosion. Hose everything down, all the aluminum stuff in WD-40. You can spray your entire engine compartment with WD-40, it won't hurt it at all. What it does is break up the surface tension of the water. Used to use it big time back in the old days in the 70s. You drive through a puddle, your engine would quit because the water would get up and short out all the electrical stuff, including your ignition. You basically just take WD-40 and spray it all over your, what at that time was a distributor, plug wires, the whole thing. Fire right back up, you're on your way. Anywho, I'm sure some people have alternate comments on WD-40, but what's that, 42 years? I swear by this stuff. Anyway, that's about it. I think the videos following this will cover most of the other stuff on it. I just wanted to give it a little quick rundown and see what you're getting into. Not a big deal. Alright, clear. Alright, so today, March 23rd, 2020, deep in the heart of the beginning of coronavirus, COVID-19. We're probably just ramping up now anyway, but I'm like, we figure 30% of the population's out of work. I'm one of those people. I was on vacation. My vacation's been extended for who the heck knows how long. Days, weeks, months. So what I'm trying to do is hunker down and catch up on some projects. This is a 99 Ford Ranger 3-liter V6. It's got a P306 code, cylinder number 6 misfire. So what I have done before this, and I apologize, I'm not running through the whole procedure, but watch this one video and a few other ones, you'll get a pretty good idea of how to take care of all this crap. So I've already taken the intake off of this thing, so I'm just going to kind of go over what I have done. Troubleshooting wise, first thing I did was swap number 5 and 6 plug, which are the two right rear. This thing's numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, which is weird to me. I'm a Chevy guy. Anyway, I swapped the 2 plugs, cleared the codes. It followed stayed number 6, did not follow, it stayed at number 6. Then I took the plug wires for those two, 5 and 6, which in this case, I think it's these two. It's really weird. This goes 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 4, or something of that nature. 4, 5, 4, 6, 5, something of that nature. You can look that up in your manual. It stayed with cylinder number 6. Also, there was also a code. I forget the name of the code, what the number was, but it was Lean Bank 2, which I've had dealt with before. The combination of those made me think that maybe it's a fuel injection problem, since it's one in lean. Indicates to me that one of the fuel injectors are not working. That cylinder's dead by fuel, not electricity. So next step I did is a compression check, and luckily for me, number 6 is good. I got 150 pounds on all of them except number 4 up here, which is 100. According to the manual, 113 is the minimum, but 184,000 miles, everything's running pretty good other than number 6 over here, so I'm not going to do anything about that. There was a service letter or something referenced in a couple of these videos about a problem when I was dropping a seat or something, where you got to pull the heads and fix all that, but luckily that doesn't seem to be the issue here. So what I did at this point, hold the negative terminal, of course, on the battery. You have to disconnect the EGR tube. Well, first pull this cover over the throttle. Throw that out. This big fat EGR line here. Luckily in this case, this one came off just with a big pair of not channel locks, with a crescent wrench. There's a hose down under the bottom of the intake up in here. Disconnect the connectors, pull the hoses out, disconnect all this crap, pull the air box out, get it out of the way. You'll need a special tool. This is what I got, this little kit, and it's this pretty little blue one, I believe. It goes around the fat portion of the fuel line here, and you basically pull up and it releases the springs inside the fuel line, pops that fuel line loose. And say disconnect the connectors. There's 2 studs that go in here that go all the way through with nuts on them. You take, you see my hands, where is my hand? There it is. Take those off, and the coil tower comes off. You kind of set that off the side. These 2 hoses are actually coolant lines. Go in there, I pop them out of there. So you can tell which one goes where, because one's a little longer than the other and has to reach over farther. So you take those nuts off to get the bracket off, then you take these studs out. I'm slacking on what size they are. Anyway. And then there's also one in the front, and there's also one in the very back. And it's weird, you think, oh well, you think the intake is straddling the whole thing. Now it just goes right there. So once you get to that point, I have to do this with both hands. Let's set that right there and see what happens, how long it stays before it falls off of there. Crying out loud. There's a tripod when you need it. Holy moly, come on. Yeah, and I was able to take this sucker and just move it off to the side here. Oh yeah, and then I ended up tying it up. So I tied her off. Alright, sorry about that. So I pulled the intake over here. This is basically all. The intake just drops down the center of it. So I stuck a rag over the top of that. Pull the connectors, the electrical connectors. At this point, once you got this fuel line out of the way, and a little safety clip that goes on it. Yeah, the fuel rail is basically loose, so I'm gonna have to pull this out of here. I think I'm gonna have to stuff little rags down each of those. Yeah, what happened there? Oh boy. Alright, I don't know what happened there. So I'm gonna probably stuff rags in these individual intake outlet ports, because I'm gonna have to get at these, and I believe these suckers are just simply gonna pull off of here. But I look into that and I will continue on. Also, you need to bleed your fuel pressure off. They give you a big procedure for that, but you know what, if you simply take this little test port out and shove something in there, a little bit of fuel will squirt out and then depressurize the system anyway. So that's where we are at the moment. I shall return. Looks like that goes back there, don't it? And then the PCV valve I'm gonna go ahead and change. I changed these hoses down here, which stretch over to this little guy over here. And there's the line that came off the EGR. This hose was down on here. I'm changing all this stuff, so, and I'm changing the plugs while I'm at it. So I got a set of remanufactured fuel injectors off of eBay. Atlanta Auto Salvage, I think, where I got these. So I don't know what they did, if they just cleaned them, put new O-rings on them. These are new, supposedly 4-hole upgraded ones. They should be hunky-dory. And then I'll put a little lube around them to get them seated in right. Alright, I'll be back. Quick update, 1/2-inch deep socket for the bolt, because you have to get over these studs over here. So those are 1/2-inch. Also, the fuel rails are held on by 5/16 bolts, which I can't see now because of the sun. One's back here. The other one is on the tower right here, which I'm using a little universal socket, 1/4-inch drive. And I think that's it. Alright, onward we go. Alright, actually there's 4 of those little bolts. 2 on each side. Once you get that, you basically just pull these things up. And these ends are tucked up underneath the intake, so I ended up pulling this out a little bit. It comes this way, and then you push it backwards a little bit, and the whole thing just pops right out of here. And then you have the entire fuel injection rail. And the fuel injectors are just stuck in with O-rings, so they're gonna let's try this. Oh, I can't do it with one hand. They're gonna pop out.
When I was born, I got lucky. A gift, if you will. My early life was really hard for many reasons, but at the time, it really didn't seem all that hard. I had a close relationship with my brothers and sister, and loads
dump
of
gas
friends.
everywhere.
Those days of desperation.
All right, well, I'm gonna dump gas everywhere, so I'll come back. Oh, it's bright out here. Anyway, what I did before putting these back in is I stuck the old fuel injectors back in their little holes and sprayed brake clean in here, and took my air compressor with a squirty nozzle and sprayed as much, you know. I'm gonna have to get in here with a light. I can't see back here and see if there's anything else I need to get to. And then cleaned all that, so it looks pretty good. Just as an aside, in case you want to know, these are the original fuel injectors, what they look like. And here's what the new 4-hole upgraded whatever looks like. So there's the fuel rail, a little oil on the O-rings. This is just gonna get it's gonna get pushed back in there. I'm gonna push it backwards down under the manifold and pull it back so it goes under this ear up here, and then they just push right down in there. Just pop right down in there, and then put the 4 bolts back in, and intake manifold and gasket, and then just start putting it all back together. All right, so I've put the fuel injectors, stuck them in the rails, and then slid them on in there. The number 6 over there kind of fell out, so I stuck it in the hole and then dropped the whole thing down on top of them. Got the 4 little bolts holding. This is what I have in here to cover up the ports. I'm about to take that out of there, put the intake gasket on it, hook this hose back up, connected all the wire harnesses to the fuel injectors. Ornery little thing. Alright, I had a tripod or something, I didn't show you the whole thing, but I'm just going to keep doing it like this, one step at a time. I'll just kind of give you an idea. You figure it out as you go along anyway. Alright. Okay, we're back together, except for the ignition connector for the coil. No lock. Interesting. Must be broke. Wow, I like that. Have to tie that sucker down. Tie wrap it or something. Alright, everything's hooked back up. Codes are cleared. Got new plugs in it. Let's see how we did. Turned it over once. Make sure I had fuel pressure. There we go. Got a little bit of a shake in it. Nope. Smooth, baby. A little bit. I do have number 4 cylinder, a little low on compression. Let's see. Put my glasses on. See what does it say? It says no codes found. Let's go back home. Alright, I'll erase it and we'll just unplug it. How's that? Start over again. So, what we have here, powering up, read codes. At the moment, though, I gotta go out and drive it and see how it's going. No codes. Alright, I'm gonna go back and we'll go drive it and I'll check again.